This could make DeWalt fans go out and riot in the streets wanting something like this on their platform, but they don't have it. This is the brand new Milwaukee Sander, and it'll do some special stuff, and I do think they went 3 extra miles here. Not just an extra mile, 3 extra miles. There's another tool that this pairs with perfectly that I think every woodworker should own. Let's go. If you'd like to check out this tool for yourself, I'll put a link in the description and the pinned comment, as well as that view products or shop button so you can find it easier. And you can shop right here on YouTube if you so choose. So out of the box, you get the sander itself, and we'll talk in detail about that. You also get a dust hose adapter, which I really appreciate, and we'll talk more about that as well. And then also some sandpaper to get you started, an interface pad, and the dust bag. This is bare tool only, but I'm sure they'll have combo kits available soon. But at the time of this filming, that's all there is, and it will work with any of your M12 batteries that you already have, no matter if it's the bigger XC style like this 4.0 or even this smaller 2.5. Now before we get into this sander and put it through the test and go over its features, let's talk about what's included. You do get, I think there's 9 sheets of sandpaper here, as well as a protection pad, which I highly recommend you use. These are very inexpensive to replace, and so this will save this pad that's attached to your sander. This is hook and loop. All you do is line those holes up and apply it. As far as the sandpaper goes, I have no idea why 9 sheets is what they included. Why not 10? Why not 8? But they went for 9. Who knows? Anyway, there's 80 grit. You also get 120 grit and 180 grit. This is good to get you started. There is some other 3-inch sandpaper on the market, so you don't have to worry about where am I going to get my sandpaper from. It's readily available. It also comes with this interface pad, and this has a very special use that you'll probably use all the time if you have one. We'll show you later. Now you see they do have the dust bag. It does clip on, and it's not going to fall off because it does have that little clip there. That's pretty cool. They claim 80% dust collection with that bag and slightly over that with dust collection. The first extra mile I think they went with was sandpaper, and you get a variety of grits here, and they send a weird number of sheets, 9. Now the reason I say that's the extra mile is because they didn't have to include any sandpaper at all. They could just sold you the tool. Now is it a big deal? Probably not. I mean, but it is nice to have in the package. The second extra mile is this. This is an interface pad, and this is one of the most useful things I've found on these small detail sanders, and I'll show you what I mean later. And this is the third extra mile. There's actually one other thing that they kind of didn't have to do, but they did. But I think this is the main thing that most people will appreciate, and this is the hose adapter. This will adapt to a variety of hoses. Slides right in there, friction fit on the Festool dust extractor hose. Some hoses will actually fit over the outside diameter here, and then some, like your shop vac hoses, 2 1/4 hose, will fit inside there. Another cool thing they included was this little rack. They didn't have to do this, but it is a belt clip, so if you wanted to clip that on your belt, say if you're sanding door frames or anything like that and you're on a ladder, you can clip this on your belt and your sander will hook right in there. But they also gave us a slot so we could mount this on the wall or on your workbench or anything like that, where you can attach the sander and have a place to store it anytime it's not in use. Before we put this through the paces and see exactly what all this thing can do, let's go over the features of this cool little sander. Now first off, it only weighs about 2 pounds, so it's very lightweight. Also, this is a variable speed trigger, so we go from basically 0 and you can squeeze it all the way up. I think the RPMs state that they go from 4,000 to 10,000. It depends on what setting you have, and there's a digital button here you push, just like a lot of their other M12 tools, like this little impact driver, very similar to that. But this will give you different settings depending on what speed you want to go at. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's also a built-in LED light that you actually can turn off. It doesn't matter if you take the battery out, come back later, put a new battery in, it still remains that memory, so it knows if you want the light on or not. The light will likely use a little bit more battery, probably not a ton, but it would be handy to have in tight spaces. And speaking of the battery, obviously you can use any M12 battery like we showed you, but the battery indicator is right there as far as how much battery life you have left. And on that variable speed trigger, there is a trigger lock so that you don't have to continually push down that trigger. You can just let go of it and it still be running. When you do hook it up to a dust extraction, you kind of hear a loud, almost sounds like a pneumatic tool. It's kind of a sound. I'm not sure if that's just because the air is getting chopped in there when this thing's spinning or something and it creates that sound. It's not a deal at all. It's just kind of I didn't expect to hear that, but otherwise it works well. It is a little loud with dust extraction because it's pulling so much volume of air, which is quite impressive that they're able to get that much air volume coming through such a small tool. Now let's put this thing through the paces and see what it can do, and then I'll tell you the perfect companion to this whole thing. Now, I like these little tiny sanders for a specific purpose in my shop, but there are multiple uses for them in any wood shop. You can see here I'd sanded this piece of walnut and I had some finish on there already just to show you how fast it's taking it off. 80 grit comes right off. Even with the bag, you're getting very little dust. I am impressed with the dust collection. When you hook it up to the dust extractor, I can't see any dust coming off of there. There's a tiny bit left on the surface. That's sanding with 80 grit on this pine, and like it's barely any on my hands. Almost all of it's going up into the dust collector. I like that. Now, one thing to note is it's fairly loud with the dust collection hooked up, but there is a lot of airflow coming through here, which is good. You can see here I was sucking up this dust. It was pulling it up, not as much as a vacuum cleaner, but it was pulling it through those holes fairly easily with good amount of flow. And that's important because that's going to help keep the tool cooler. And if you can keep it tool cooler, the battery should last a little bit longer, and of course tool life will be better too. And the sandpaper is staying cooler because of airflow. You're keeping all that dust from out of there, keeping it from getting clogged up. So if you can put this on a dust extractor, it's probably best. But even with the bag, it worked pretty good. Now, as far as performance goes, sanding on either walnut or pine did just fine. So just take that for whatever it's worth. If you're looking for this type of sander for those applications, it will do those type of sanding applications, but that's not what this is made for. This is a detail sander. It's made for smaller jobs. For instance, we sell these trays on our website, different styles of catch-all trays, this baseball, this guitar shape, and getting down inside of those trays can be a pain with a standard 5 or 6 inch sander because it's just not a lot of area there, especially in the smaller or the more detailed trays, getting up in there and getting those tool marks out. I like these style sanders for that. Now, where this will really shine in most any wood shop is when you pair it with this interface pad. Now, these are very inexpensive. You can buy these as, you know, have extra. I even have these with my 5-inch sander too, but these are extremely handy to have on the edge profiles of stuff like roundovers, chamfers, or any kind of profile that you don't want to damage those edges or even trim, things like that. Because this will basically form to whatever you're sanding and not really dig in and take the corner or the edge off. That's why I love these little detail sanders for this specific purpose. So you can use these on the edges of your cutting boards, your tabletops, or even things like these little trays. You can see I'm sanding around the edge of these trays, get that nice and smooth. That's why I love these little detail sanders paired with this interface pad. Now, this little detail sander is absolutely not meant to replace your standard 5-inch or 6-inch random orbital sander. This is made for larger projects, cutting boards on the surface, as well as tabletops and most anything else you're sanding, other than stuff that needs that fine detail. And that's where these really shine. And I say these because there is a companion to this that is absolutely amazing. This is the perfect companion to the new 3-inch sander. I think they just become best friends.
Did we just become best friends? Yep!
This is one of my favorite Milwaukee tools I've ever bought, and this is the Milwaukee Orbital Detail Sander. It has a triangular shaped head on it, and this is perfect for getting up into those hard to reach spaces. I have loved this sander since the day I bought it. This is an amazing tool to have in the shop. But now that we can pair it with this little 3-inch sander, this is my favorite combo of sanders for detail work. And I want to stress detail work because we're sanding smaller parts and pieces with this, trim, edges, things like that, and that's where these two really shine. If I had to tell you which one to get first, I would probably tell you the home plate version first, followed up by the round 3-inch version. But if you already have this detail sander, you're absolutely going to want to pick this one up. Now, the triangle shaped detail sander shines in a few different ways than the little 3-inch sander, and that is that point. That's going to let you get up into those hard to reach spaces. It also includes an interface pad, but there is one drawback to this sander versus this one, and that is dust collection. The little home plate detail sander does not have any type of dust collection, so it does stir up quite a bit of little dust. This one having that bag, or especially when you hook it to the dust extractor, this is amazing dust collection. So depending on if that's priority to you, you may want this one. The home plate detail sander, I call it home plate because it looks like a baseball home plate. If you don't know, I'm a baseball fan. My editor, Chris, hand makes these bats. Say hi, Chris. I'll drop a link to his Etsy store. You can check them out. If you're looking for a very good gift for your baseball fan in your life, he can custom make bats. Pretty cool. But it's shaped like a home plate. And so this also comes with the interface pad, so you can also go around those profiles and things, but again, you just don't have the dust collection there. If you're just looking for a really good detail sander, this may be a good option for you as well. Now, a lot of people will try to say this is the same thing as an oscillating tool or a multi-tool, but it's not, because an oscillating or multi-tool just goes side to side, and this one does the random orbit thingy. which means you get a better, finer finish if you're staining or painting a product with this versus the multi-tool. Being able to sand small parts like that, especially around that edge, it did such a great job. Now, I didn't have dust collection on, so you could maybe see a little bit of dust coming off there, but the detail on this, or the sensitivity of this not to damage the edge and to just really get that smoothed up, is perfect. And we sell these on the website. Speaking of selling products, if you ever thought about selling your own woodworking stuff and you just don't know where to get started, how much to price things, anything like that, I put together a course to help you out. It's $1 a month. It basically gets you jump started from turning your woodworking passion into profit. Check it out, first link in the description. Another great use for this little detail sander is if you're needing to get into tight spaces, maybe up inside drawers. I don't know why you would need in there, but if you did, there you go. Also up inside cabinets or anything like that. In the small spaces, maybe on the toe kick, if you had to fill some nail holes or something, you could use this to get in there and sand those out really easily. So there's a lot of uses for a small detail sander like this. I think Milwaukee is going to have a big hit on their hands with this. You let me know what you think. Now this does come with, again, 9 whole sheets of sandpaper. Why 9, Milwaukee? You're messing with people's OCD. It needs to be 8 or 10. So it does come with these, a few grits of sandpaper to get you started. I'm sure they're going to sell their own as well. But 3M extract also, I found these on Amazon. I'll link to these in the description below. You can buy them in various grits. I got 80, 120, 180, and 220 coming, but the 220 come in first. So you can get the 3M extract paper. That will fit on these sanders perfectly. They are hook and loop, so nice attachments. And you're getting that 3M paper that everybody knows and loves already. So that's a bonus, being able to have 3-inch paper readily available on the market, which I'm sure they looked at before they even made this. As far as heat buildup, with the dust extractor, I don't really notice much heat coming off of this thing, but when I don't have it hooked up to a dust extractor, it gets warm here. Not hot, just warm. You can tell it's warmer than the rest of the tool, which is kind of normal for this type tool. I think Milwaukee did a fantastic job with this tool. Now that you can pair it with this, it's just a dangerous combo here for a woodworking shop. This is absolutely nothing to do with the video, 0, but it also is a very, very cool tool that you may be interested in. This is a little flashlight that fits in your pocket. It's rechargeable, lasts up to 55 hours on the lowest setting, and it goes all the way up to 3,100 lumens. I think there's like 4 settings in between, depending on what you want. On screen, shows you how much battery life you have in hours and minutes. Just a super cool little tool, and it has a proximity sensor, so when you put it in your pocket, you don't have to worry about it coming on or staying on or anything like that. Just thought you might be interested because I found it awesome, and maybe you will too. Another question I get about this one all the time is battery life. And what I've noticed on this little home plate detail sander is the battery life is really good, especially when you use it with these XC 4.0 batteries. Of course, the smaller 2.5 batteries just don't last as long, but they just don't have that much capacity in them at 2 or 2.5 amp hours. These 3 and 4 amp hour batteries that I have, awesome. These last a good amount of time depending on your task, of course, how heavy and hard you're using this stuff. So it just goes with any battery platform really. But battery life is good on these. It's good. That's what I'm getting at. Milwaukee is crushing it, y'all. M12 has been one of my favorite platforms for a while now just because they keep coming out with unique tools like this specifically for woodworkers. So I think they did an absolutely amazing job pairing these two up. I would hope that they would sell this as a combo kit at some point. These two tools, that would be amazing. With maybe a battery and a charger, be on your way. If you'd like to pick one of these up for yourself, I don't think you'd be disappointed. Link in the description and the pinned comment, as well as that view products or shop button. This little home plate shaped detail sander I've been talking about, you got to check out that full review right there. Click in that box, get you the big old virtual fist bump.